Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Radio LUMS. This is Mustafa Khan, host of the show Providence. On Providence, we're starting a new series of episodes where we talk to students at LUMS about their lives at LUMS and the future. So today, the first question we have, what's next for a LUMS student? Today, we'll be talking to Radio LUMS' very own Khadija Tahir, host of the Daily Report. Khadija, we're glad to have you with us.
Thank you for having me as the very first guest of the very first episode of a special segment for Providence. Hello, everyone. I am Khadija Tahir, host of the LUMS Report here at Radio LUMS, and I'm very excited to be a part of Mustafa's show. And I'm excited for what he has planned for the rest of this interview. So let's begin.
All right, so I think Khadija just put too much pressure on me by saying the interview I have planned. This is going to be extremely improvisatory because I do not have time to plan interviews nowadays, which is part of what's next for LUM students, no time. But, when you enter college, you have a certain bunch of options open to you once you've graduated. And those, usually seem to be an option between either continuing to further studies at graduate school or entering the workforce. Now, that can look very different as well for some people, as, graduate school is different for different fields. And in the workforce, you can either join a corporate entity or you can introduce something self-employed, right? I mean, the startup culture in Pakistan and the world over is huge nowadays. So, Khadija, what do you think about these kind of options that we presented with? What are your views on this?
Oh, wow. That was a very loaded first question. But I think that, to start with, when I joined LUMS, I had like a very clear vision of the major that I wanted to do, which was economics and mathematics. And 2 years in, it kind of completely flipped because I started taking different courses, and I'm currently a senior who is majoring in Econ Pol, and I have also completed my minor in history. So I'd say it's kind of similar to what I came for, but it's kind of also very, very different because my main area of interest now, academically, I'd say, is gender studies. Which is very different from what I originally came for, which was econ. So yeah, I think did I answer your question correctly? I'm sorry, I feel like I missed a few parts.
No, that's great because the question I really want to ask on this show,
Mhm.
I mean, everyone knows what's next in, in terms of time and objective reality. You have a choice between what you want to do in the future. But what I really want to answer by asking questions on Providence is how do you come to that decision? So what you've talked about is a really great leading point into that discussion, because what I want to talk about is how does LUMS as an institution or any institution at this level prepare students for the future, and how do the circumstances that we find ourselves in shape our decision as to what we want to do in the future. So Khadija, for example, you mentioned you wanted to come for a degree in economics and mathematics, but now you shifted your focus to social sciences purely in terms of gender studies. So I think that's one of the benefits that I wanted to mention of a liberal arts institution like LUMS, that it gives you the opportunity to explore a bunch of different courses, a bunch of different fields in your formative years at the institution that really do have an impact on how you want to be in the future. Because personally as well, economics was the only subject I really enjoyed in school. And I came to LUMS hoping to pursue a degree in economics. When they asked what I want my major to be, before I entered LUMS, I said economics and politics because I didn't want to do just economics. I wanted something else with it. But now, in my senior year, just a few months left to go, which is a crisis in and of itself, I realized that I enjoyed my political science courses so much more than my economics ones. So yeah, I mean, this really does, the variety and the options you have at university really do shape you as a person. So, Khadija, why don't you talk to us a bit about how that shift in your, perspective came about and how it's affecting your potential choices for the future?
So first of all, I think when you're in an institution like LUMS, and I say this specifically about my own school, which is the Mushtaq Ahmed Kurmani School of Humanities and Social Sciences. I don't know if I can speak for the others one, but at HSS, what I really, really liked was that I got to explore all kinds of interests that I had. So I did come for econ, but I was also I had business in A levels. I really loved mathematics, which I don't, by the way. Um, uh, which I don't anymore. Um, and I had sociology. I really loved history as a child. And at LUMS, I kind of got to explore all of that at HSS. I got to, take courses that were completely different that I hadn't like even envisioned myself seeing them. And I think that was the best part of I think my journey here at LUMS and at HSS specifically is that it really we do come in with a plan and a vision. Obviously, everyone does, but plans and visions and goals always change with I'd say every single day, to be honest, because right now at the point I am, it is a very in my last semester at LUMS, it is kind of like I can't find the word exactly, but so I'd say like I wake up. So currently I have two political science courses. I have a gender studies course, and I'm also doing a directed research project. It's my very final course load here at LUMS. But I wake up, and the first class I go to today is Pakistan's foreign relations, and that makes me, think about how interesting it would be to do CSS actually and go towards foreign relations because international relations has been one of my favorite topics of my political science degree. But then I have a break and then I go to my gender and sexuality class, which is just completely different. And then I'm thinking, oh, mujhe ye bhi karna hai. Like, gender studies itself is such an interesting discipline, and it applies to every other discipline as well. So it kind of like varies day to day. And I don't think I still have a set plan of what I want to do post grad. And I honestly think you shouldn't have one either. It allows you to keep your all kinds of doors open. And the one that, feels the best to you and attracts you the most is the one you should pick. Obviously, this also comes from a position of privilege as well, because I think at LUMS and the family that I come from is very, very supportive. Being a woman in Pakistan, I would not be able to achieve or, keep all these doors open for myself if I did not belong to the family or the class that I do. So yeah, I think it's kind of like a very multi-layered plan for the future that you think of when you come to LUMS and when you reach your final year or your final semester, and there's like so much to do. So I've always thought that there's never should be a set plan at all. You should just let it guide you, I'd say.
That's I agree with that. That's inspirational, but you're absolutely right about acknowledging the part that privilege, in many ways, has to play in that decision. And I feel that while personally I do follow and subscribe to the same school of thought that, if you plan everything out in advance, you've restricted yourself and your options in the future. I also do acknowledge that for a lot of people, having a set sense of direction in life can come from planning things out concretely in that way and working towards that as a goal. So personally, I have used a bit of that as well. Up until my sophomore year at LUMS, I was not sure at all about what to do. I was taking your philosophy to the exact extreme, right? Letting life guide me and not having any idea what I wanted to do. And that, of course, becomes a bone of contention between you and people around you, especially your family. But the minute I decided what I did want to do was become a professor eventually, which is going to be the most boring thing imaginable, but, hopefully it'll work out. I just found that I was able to pursue different opportunities and things that allow me to get closer to that goal without restricting myself completely as to being a professor of what, or only teaching a specific thing, or having a very specific research interest, or even, saying that I'm definitely going to become a professor. There's years to go in that. So yeah, I agree with you. There needs to be some sort of balance in life where you accept that circumstances outside your control will affect your decisions in the future. And you also, as a human being, need to open yourself to experiences outside what you think you want. So yeah, that's a great answer, Khadija.
And kind of sorry to interrupt
No,
you
go.
there, but and it's not like you shouldn't have any plan at all. Like I personally do, so I've got a plan 1 and plan 2, which is both grad school and the corporate sector, because at this point both of them attract me. But it's not like if I do one and if I get restricted to one, I'll regret it or something, because it's I'm letting both of these plans guide me. At the end of the day, for future me, I'd say I want someone who, in actually, it's a cliche to say you enjoy your job or look forward to your job, but that is very, very important. And I do want to be someone who enjoys what actually, enjoys what they're doing or gets fulfillment from that. And whether that be becoming a corporate slave or becoming a slave to academia, who knows? But yeah, do you want to continue?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think that's important because you do need to love what you do in the end. You only sort of, get one life, so to speak, and to use that to the maximum and enjoy yourself as much as you can, and not waste a life away in pursuing things that have no meaning for you, really. I think that's extremely important. And wow, we got really philosophical for our first episode. But yeah, so could you also talk a bit about what sort of experiences you've had at LUMS outside of academics? Interacting with the extremely diverse sort of student body we have at LUMS, with even professors in a non-academic setting. And otherwise, what sort of experiences have you had at LUMS, even being part of Radio LUMS? I'm rambling here. That inform your decisions for the future?
I'd honestly say, so for me, we were batch 2023. We were the batch that, and sorry to bring this up, but the pandemic started
Oh God.
freshman spring. So we were halfway through freshman spring, and I kind of spent 2 years of my academic journey very, very isolated, I'd say, from the LUMS community, because everything was online. I'd attend the class, I'd like literally shut my laptop, and I'd be done with everything that LUMS has to offer. But I've been back since spring partially, and then fully this fall as well. And honestly, I wish I had more time, because this is like the first and my last year as a senior that I am getting to, interact closely with my professors. Obviously, you interact with your professors in a class setting, but you also learn from them in their office hours when you go talk to them or when you do projects with them. And in terms of extracurriculars, I think for me it has been, I was part of other societies, but Radio LUMS has been a very, very rewarding experience. And I tell this story a lot that I tried joining it 3 times, and the third time was when they got back to me and I became an RJ here at Radio LUMS. And honestly, the people that I've gotten to meet here, that I've gotten to work with, all the amazing shows like that are aired here at Radio LUMS as well. It's just so fascinating to me so in the first few meetings or whenever we meet up and I talk to someone about their show, the genuine, like the joy on their face whenever they're explaining it. It's just, I absolutely love seeing that. I love hearing people talk about things that are important to them, things that they love to talk about. Personally, for me, the LUMS report was kind of, it wasn't like the idea. I'm kind of like pessimistic on this. I wish I had more time to work on, newer segments, involve more people. But obviously there is, as you said in the beginning, we're all like constrained by time here. But I feel like this last year I'm trying to make the best of it. I've tried my best to make the best of it, talk to as many people as I can, learn as many things as possible. And I feel like the most I've learned here has been at Radio LUMS, because this is like an experience to me that was purely non-academic. The reason that I picked this extracurricular activity in particular was because it had nothing to do with being a student. It was everything, like it was completely like non-academic. So that's why I enjoy it so much, even though sometimes, doing a weekly show, it kind of gets tiring as well. And I think I'm going completely off tangent to your original question. But the most I've learned here, I don't think it can be summed up on. What about you?
I agree. I think university is great in that sense, in that it's not just about, going to a class and studying and sitting there and listening to people talk for hours. It's so much of what you make of it itself, right? It's a hub of opportunities, of people, and you have your pick and choice almost of whatever you want to do, however you want to go about. The amount of societies we have at LUMS, the amount of extracurricular activities and everything, it's all about what you make of it, and sort of choosing different activities that allow you to expand your horizons in the best way. And I think this is a great point to mention, because you mentioned the pandemic, that Khadija is the reason Radio LUMS survived. She was recording shows from her walk-in closet during the
Yes,
pandemic.
I was.
Yeah, when we didn't have this beautiful recording studio, that was how Radio LUMS was surviving. And yeah, I think it's very true that you talk about, the things you learn from professors, because they are extremely, extremely experienced people who've spent years working in the fields they're working in. And I think it's sometimes we tend to forget that they were in our positions not too long ago, quite a few decades ago in some cases, but not too long ago. They were undergrad students at one point in time, and they faced the very same choices that we're facing right now. And I think that's almost beautiful in a sense, I mean, you're learning from people who were sitting in your exact spot just a few years ago, and seeing the place they are, it really inspires me that, I want to be up there as well eventually. And that's more personal than most things, because I want to be a professor. But anyway, any industry where you are, you learn from people who were in your position just a few years ago. And the cycle of life is that, you will be taking that place in a few years, and the circumstances, the conditions, everything you learn sort of impacts that decision for you and lets you choose your future. So yeah, what's next for a LUM student? I think I'd answer that by saying whatever you want, whatever you've learned at LUMS and outside in your life so far. What's next for you is whatever you make of it. So this one was really philosophical. We're hoping to get a bit more specific, talk to
Are
the
they
students later
usually
on.
Are your shows usually not this philosophical?
Oh no, they are, but most of my shows are where I'm talking with professors about extremely philosophical stuff. But this particular stream of Providence episodes hopes to be talking to students across different fields, different majors, different backgrounds, and how they see their specific future in the world, how their particular job, their particular field is progressing. So I think this one was good for a first philosophical sort of viewpoint, but we'll get a bit more specific, so stay tuned for those as well. Any concluding comments you'd like to say, Khadija?
Honestly, I feel like we strayed too far from what we were initially supposed to talk about, which was grad school or corporate sector, the two, this question. But I think honestly, I'd say if you've made it to LUMS, the world is your oyster. If it's not your academics, pick something for your extracurriculars that you actually enjoy and you can continue enjoying. Like the amount of friends who have come up to me, including Mustafa, and said that, oh, let's start a podcast. Like, if I don't work out like academically or extracurricular wise, I can always become a podcast pro. That's a another career opportunity that's available. So, I think just keep doors open. Don't say no to stuff. Say yes to stuff. Say yes to learning new things, even if you're bad at them. That's how, honestly, you get to learn. And that's, I think, the most important part at the end of the day, that you do learn and you do enjoy yourself while doing so.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That was great, Khadija. Thank you. And I would really look forward to your podcast if you ever start one.
Thank you for having me on the show. I'm really excited I got to be your first student guest at Providence.
Yes, this was great. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, this was Mustafa Khan, host of Providence at Radio LUMS, where we ask questions about the future, which hopefully won't be impacted too bad by UFOs flying over the USA. Thank you for tuning in.